The biggest mistake that business leaders are making at the moment when it comes to negotiation is continuing in the belief that negotiation is an event. It's a moment, it's a step in a process, rather than understanding that negotiation itself is a process. This is something that comes from 70s management theory, and this is why it's making it so difficult for people to understand today what's going to happen to negotiation with the advent of artificial intelligence, right? So how is AI going to influence the way that we negotiate, etc.? Now, if you understand what I'm going to explain to you in this video, conceptually, then you'll know exactly how AI will fit into the context of negotiation and vice versa, and you'll know exactly what to do going forward with confidence into the world where man and machine will work together to do business. Now, the original definition of the word negotiate is simply to do business. That's the Latin definition of the word, right? So in the 70s, management theory evolved to create, the modern day enterprise, basically the modern day organization, where we brought functional discrimination to the organization. So we built things like different divisions, right? So we had the human resources department, we had the legal department, we had the sales department, the procurement department, the commercial department, the finance department, whatever else you can think of. And what this meant is that within each one of these areas, we also then further reduced tasks to steps in a process that we need to complete within the context of that department, etc. And so before you know it, we simply forgot that what we're doing all day, every day is trying to do business, right? So the definition in Latin, literally, of negotiation is anything that you do that is not leisure, right? So whatever it is that you're doing that's not relaxing is what they call negotiation. So it's really quite simple. The fact that organizations reduced negotiation to a step in the procurement process, you issue an RFP or some kind of RFX, if you will, you get proposals in return, etc. You narrow it down to a shortlist, and then you get to the negotiation, or on the sell side, you qualify, you submit proposals, etc., and then you get to the negotiation phase, right? But if that's your view of negotiation, the impact is twofold. Number one, your organization is going to struggle in this new AI-related world, right? If you see negotiation as this step of your process, it's going to be very difficult for you. The second problem is, you don't know where negotiations start and where they stop, right? So if you think negotiation is just an event, it's something that happens when you discuss terms and conditions or when you start talking about price, well then I'm afraid most of the value is already escaped probably by the time that you get there, right? Because you create the frame for the engagement, you set anchors, you manage expectations. All these things happen in the course of doing business. So we don't suddenly get to a stage, now there's a meeting in a room or a specific phone call and now we're negotiating. No, to negotiate means to do business. So the moment you catch this as a concept, then you'll understand that the impact of AI is simply going to mean one thing. It's just going to mean that the way we do business is now augmented and aided by technology, right? So in some cases, yes, we will see technology or machine negotiate with machine, because they might be able to do components of a negotiation more accurately when it relates to the data and to crunching the numbers, etc. And we might both parties, or all parties to a deal, might decide that it makes much more sense for my machine to negotiate with your machine to get to the bottom of some of the detail, or to exchange relevant insights into data, etc. And so that might very well accelerate the process significantly, but then it's still going to come down to you and me, or you and your counterpart ultimately, to come to some kind of conclusion. Now, in some cases, it may be that we've created frameworks, etc., where we've negotiated frameworks person to person, in person, not via the machines, for the machines to run on tracks. And then we might let the machines go at it so that they can reduce and lighten our load. So it's quite simple yet. You don't have to be intimidated by the advent of artificial intelligence in the context of negotiation. It's purely a tool that's going to enhance your productivity. You got to see it. Negotiation is to do business, right? We're not going to stop doing business because technology now enters the fray. No, we're going to harness that technology so that we can do business more effectively, more productively, So we can save time, we can save money, we can save effort and resource, right? We're going to harness technology to do that. So the key thing that you need to keep in mind as you approach negotiations and you think about artificial intelligence is that effectively you're going to need two skills, right? You're going to need the skills like you always have for you to be able to negotiate with counterparts, but in this case, both with man and machine, right? Because you're also going to come across bots where you're going to do parts of your negotiations with bots, and then you're going to do parts of your negotiations with people. And maybe it's going to get to the stage where your bot, you're going to line up to negotiate with your counterpart's bot. So it can mostly be machine to machine communication with some exceptions in cases where it doesn't have the algorithmic logic built in, or it throws out exceptions, etc., where it'll come to people. And you will still have negotiations face-to-face where people will be figuring out what the rules are for those negotiations, or augmenting those negotiations with face-to-face interactions, or indeed setting up those interactions with face-to-face engagement. So what the future looks like is that you'll have to be equipped with highly persuasive and engaging negotiation skills when it comes to the interpersonal level, so with the people skills, and all those things that were valid over all time as it relates to connecting with people, convincing them of the veracity and the validity of your argument, exploring common ground, asking questions, all those interpersonal things. That skill set will never go away, but what needs to happen now is you need to augment that with your ability to both set up, define, program, if you will, train, maybe is the new word in the context of artificial intelligence, the machine, so that it can aid you in your negotiations, maybe do some of your negotiations on your behalf, also help you to prepare for those negotiations by doing simulations with you, maybe designing those simulations based on some of the inputs that you've created, that you've trained your AI assistant or assistants with. And then you will have to manage and instruct the machine, if you will, the AI components, how to conduct business on your behalf. And then you will also still have to be able to conduct business on your own behalf. So the additional skill you're going to have to acquire is the skill of instructing the machine, setting it up to negotiate on your behalf or in support of your case. And also, you will then also have to be equipped with the skills to make sure that, from a strategic perspective, you can make sure that, these bots or the assistants that you create to help you to do business, that they also line up strategically with the best and leading practices when it comes to both dealing with man and with machine. So the future looks interesting in the sense that, you will still be able to do business, you will still be able to negotiate as you have in the past, but added to that will also be interactions where there will be machine-to-machine negotiations, there will be machine-to-man negotiations, man-to-man negotiations, and man-to-machine negotiations. So there's going to be any mix of these different negotiations, and your ability to simulate, to practice, to continually evolve is going to be key to you surviving or indeed thriving in this next phase, where we're going to be working tightly together, man and machine, to enhance the value from our negotiations, from doing business. So the moment you free yourself from thinking that negotiation is an event, then you don't have to be concerned anymore about the impact of AI and the confluence of AI and negotiation. Where does one stop? When does one start? That stuff is all premised on the wrong definition of negotiation. Negotiation is to do business, and we do business with the support of many tools we always have over many years. This is just another tool that we're adding to the toolbox of doing business, and we're going to make sure that in the context of the development of our own skills, we equip ourselves with the skill to use this new tool, right? To harness it, to counter it, and ultimately to also to design and guide these tools. And then on top of that, we still need to capitalize on our interpersonal skills. That need will never go away. If you want to learn more about how you can immediately stop the margin leakage from the approach that you follow when it comes to negotiation within your organization, within your team, then why don't you go ahead and book a negotiation margin index call. It's free, and it's going to give you immediate practical insight into where the margin is escaping from your negotiations right now.